Hello, everyone. Welcome into another edition To The Point podcast. Everybody's doing well on this Wednesday. We're almost to the NHL All-Star break or an All-Star game weekend, which is always not so fascinating because the game has gotten progressively worse over the years. But there's lots of storylines as we're past the halfway point. Some great stories across the NHL. And I wanted to talk about a bunch of them. I didn't want to do it alone. So joining me today, you've known him, you've heard him many times on the podcast. He's without his partner in crime, Rankin, but he's some say he's better coming in solo as the lone wolf, if you will. And I'm joined by Cole MacDonald. Cole, thanks for coming back on, and good to talk to you again.
Oh no, thanks for having me, Jug. But I'd like to know what lad said better without him. That lad's a liar.
It wasn't your teachers.
No. No,
Wasn't your?
I'll do it. I'll do it without rank. But
Yeah. Well, the last time we were talking, we talked a lot about obviously your Montreal Canadiens. We talked about Jim Benning, aka Jet Black, and he's since been dispersed. But since our probably a month and change ago, our last podcast together, your Montreal Canadiens hasn't been going well down there in La Belle Province, and obviously Carey Price is not playing. Jake Allen likely out for the season. I think we both kind of agreed that this wasn't going to be a long-term rebuild. In the past, month and change, has your opinion changed on that, or do you still think this could be a quick, if you will, turnaround for Montreal to get back to their winning ways?
Yeah, I'd love to see quick. I don't think it's going to be a long one or super long, and I don't think it's going to be super quick. I don't know. Kind of not taking a side, but if you just kind of look what Gordon did in New York, clearly I'm hoping for the best. And
right.
Yeah, but it's not like right now the record shows were dog crap, but Price isn't playing. Weber's not there. Like, you lose two of your best players. Price is coming back. You still have him. Do I think should make the playoffs? Hell no. It's a rebuild for sure, but there's some pieces to move out. It's not like Arizona. I don't know. They're in a rebuild. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
You got a couple of things. I think Montreal can kind of move some of those assets to get kind of like New York. I'm praying as a Montreal fan that Gordon does in Montreal what he did in New York. I know he's not the GM, but I don't think it's they made the cup final last year. Are they the second best team in the NHL? In my opinion, no. But we have Price, all these. You're a team that hopes to compete in the playoffs and get through, and that's what they did. But they're not the worst. I don't think they are this year, but it's kind of unfortunate. I don't think they're that shitty.
Right.
They are though. Because of circumstances, they're this shitty, right?
Right.
So what I'm saying is they got to second last year. They have pieces to move out. It's not like they have nothing. They're just total praying to God every night.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think they have pieces to move. And my one big concern is doing kind of a deep dive is how many guys they have on long-term contracts. Josh Anderson, Brendan Gallagher, Suzuki now. Obviously, they're not going to want to move him, but guys they could potentially trade. I think it's going to be very difficult to do that because they're either, Gallagher's been hurt all season. Anderson's having a down season. Usually has one great one, then a porous one.
Yep.
But do you see guys like these two I just named as people you want to keep, or guys that you could potentially move but might make it more difficult because of their contract status?
I'd love to keep them, just because the way they play. You see some of these teams rebuild and lose all their heart, their competitiveness. Now Brendan Gallagher might jump off a bridge if he loses 3 years in a row, right? If he goes 10-70, maybe It's not a good thing to have Brendan Gallagher in a locker room because he's so competitive. And I love Anderson, and those guys are hard to find, especially in Montreal. Been a Montreal fan my whole life. We haven't had too many Josh Andersons. We had Zach Cassian for about a week till he rolled the truck, but I wouldn't want to move those two, but it's not this. They're not superstars by any by any means, but $5 million is reasonable. And I think teams, they're going to have to take money back. The whole NHL is jammed, right? Like,
Yeah.
you eat salary or take another player back with not worth his salary, you know what I mean? But $5 million isn't too bad. 6.5. Those two guys, I think. Petrie now wants out kind of deal. But there's no, with the exception of Suzuki next year, which I want to keep anyway, and I think he's worth what they paid him.
Agreed.
In price and whatever he's worth, but it's just kind of in a weird spot. Is he worth to have a good goalie and the shittiest team in the league, or you know what I mean? So, but those other guys aren't too overpaid. $5-6 million. No one besides those two guys and Weber are over 7, I don't think. Petrie.
Yeah, Petrie would be the only one.
You're selling low goods there.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened to him this year, because I don't watch Montreal every game because I need to watch some good teams too. But he looks like he forgot how to play the position some nights. He just looks completely like he's lost his confidence, or you watch this team more than me. Like, what have you seen from Petrie? Just, you as a scout, like what's been going on with his game?
I know he's not Dion Phaneuf, but it's when you're 8 and I don't know what the record is right now, like more or less 8-30.
I'll pull it up for you. Yeah,
10-30, give or take. I know it's not even 10, but I think he just lost the love for the game a little bit. Not clearly, like not totally, but if you look at Phaneuf in Toronto, you used to be a Toronto fan, and like Dion Phaneuf was a good defenseman. You put him in the number 1 spot when he's not a number 1 defenseman, and especially in a Canadian market.
Right.
Good luck. And I just think Petrie was always in a perfect position behind Weber. He's an offensive defenseman on that second pair that he kind of got fair matchups against. And Weber took all those top opponents on and played the defensive role. And Petrie just kind of got to excel. He's a great skater, great passer. I really like you said, I don't think he forgot how to play hockey. I just think he's like so frustrated and he's got to play with me half the nights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just calling up this guy from beer league, 3 leagues down, and nothing against those guys, but I see how he's demoralized. Like, he went from the Stanley Cup final, signed this big contract. He was really looking up, and those older guys, right? You can see the end of the tunnel. And it's different. All these young guys, okay, I still got 10, 15 years in the league, hopefully. I want to win. I want to be here. This team believes in me. But those older guys, Petrie, I don't know how old he's, like 32 or something, but I don't believe Petrie sees this turnaround by the time he can still play and be a productive player or help a team win. You know what I mean? I don't think Petrie can help you win in 5 years.
No, I don't either. He is such. I think that's a valid point. I totally agree on the Phaneuf angle. I used to say that all the time. You see, again, the Toronto media used to kill Dion Phaneuf, and it's the fault of the team if you put a player in a poor position that you can't succeed. I think Toronto has done that with Morgan Riley a lot as well over the years. I don't see him as a true number 1, despite him having a great year. Petrie, I believe he still has term after this year. So
this is his first. He signed like a 4-year extension. This is his first year of it.
Right. I don't know if I trade him unless I got a really good offer. Because to your point, you're going to be. What would he be worth right now? A 3rd, 4th round pick, especially with term the way he's been playing. And if the rebuild is quicker, and you think you can be better in the short term, he might be worth keeping around if you can get a better defenseman to play in front of him, hopefully, and he can turn his game around.
Yeah, I agree with you. And if you're gonna rebuild, I agree with keeping everyone, unless you get a certain value back, right? If you like you said, 3rd, 4th round pick, really, you would do that to get rid of the salary, I guess, but. I agree with you. I would keep him unless you're getting a first. And right now, it's hard to say. I sound like a lunatic saying anything like that. But if you look at last year or Yeah, last year at the trade deadline, Montreal was a 500 team or in the play. I don't know, but around the playoffs and maybe in, maybe out, close to it. There was a lot of people calling Montreal because it was his last year of his contract. Petrie and the prices were high. And I don't know, but I assume they're first prospects. And last year he was a really good defenseman, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And he's like, I find he's a great complementary defenseman. I mean, that 2-3. If you're a good team, he's lower in your like roster, right? He's at 3. And Montreal last year, he was a glorified like a 2, but I don't know. Weber took all without Weber.
Yeah.
But I think Montreal has a lot of good pieces to move. Is the thing. Someone's gonna call on someone, and it's just I don't know.
Do you think they can get a first for Sherrod?
Yep, big time.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I do too. And
so if you get a first and move him, why take a third? Like you said, for
yeah, he's a UFA, and you could bring Sherrod back if you really wanted him. And yeah, I think like a team like Toronto. I've been saying this for a couple of weeks. A team like Toronto should want Ben Sherrod. Like whatever they can to get him, they need him. They need a player just like him because their defense core is Swiss cheese most nights, and he's just he's a stabilizing force. He rarely makes a mistake, and he's boring. Analytics won't love Ben Sherrod, but the playoffs do. The style of play is exactly where he excels.
Yeah, the same thing of Petrie being a 1. He's not a 1. Sherrod knows what he is, and he excels at that. He doesn't try to. I mean, Montreal kind of grew his offensive a bit. Kind of surprised me, honestly. Like I didn't think he was that good until he played in Montreal, and I watched him every night. I'm like, holy shit, he's pretty good. We're gonna get a first round pick for him. Plus, I think. Yeah, I agree. Toronto, a lot of these playoff teams, he's what you want in the playoffs. He reminds me Jake Muzzin, not maybe as good, but the same style. He can play the hard defense. He can, not that he's going to be run your power play, but he could, like, not that you want him to, not these.
Yeah, I mean, when they won, Doughty was the Weber. You know, if you look at that same like he played with Weber last year, Doughty played with Muzzin for both years they won the Stanley Cup. They played a similar position. They didn't gamble. They stayed back. They were just good, smart players. And yeah, I mean, if you just look at Canada alone, I think Edmonton would take calls on Sherrod. I think Toronto would. Any team that thinks they could win a cup should. Even Florida, who's got a great team, should call Montreal and say, hey, like what do you want? You know?
Yeah. Florida's got some stuff to trade too, right? They can get away with not moving them first because they have these assets. Or I think they have a lot of assets besides pick.
Right.
Or Toronto has me in their system.
Yeah.
Joking, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
teams, like, I heard that Edmonton, like, I don't know what's going on in Edmonton, but they don't want to move their first. Well, I don't know. Do you want to make the playoffs or do you like your first round pick?
I mean, you're trading your first round pick doesn't matter if you win. I mean, Tampa doesn't care about picks because they won.
And, you know, I'll trade a 30th overall pick, a 25th. If you know you're actually going to go somewhere, like,
right.
What's that pick?
You put yourself in the position to be in a Final Four. You took a swing, you know, and it's worth it.
And now, there's analytics or whatever. The top 2 picks always pan out, blah blah blah. But especially these later picks. No, but I mean, just playing the NHL. No, clearly not too. But like the stats, right? Like the stats from 15 to 30 aren't very good. So
right. Yeah, that's
like,
the point I'm making. I'm not disagreeing with your point about first, second round picks, but and it's true too, Cole, about the team that's selecting this player. Like if it's Tampa, they have a great draft history. So they might value a 3rd round pick or a late first because they know what they're doing. A team could have 10 picks in a draft and the fans might look at that and say, this is great news. But if you have Joe Schmo making the selections and you don't know what you're doing, those picks are meaningless because they're not helping your team.
And if that don't get like green point just proves but if that's too late, well, you know what I mean? If Braden Point develops in 6 years down the road, like they draft Braden Point today, well, he might be too late to develop
Right.
be a part of this team. But those late picks, it's like, okay, say 15 to 30, 20, say 30% of them play. I don't know the actual stats, but and those, how many of those guys are studs? Slash, think about the guy you're getting back.
Right.
So say Sherrod. Someone's like, oh, he's going to be a good number 3 defenseman. And if 4 or 5 years, this guy's big, we like him, safe pick. Well, I'm getting Ben Sherrod. I already know he's a good, safe, stable defenseman, and he's going to help me right now, not in 3 years, maybe. So I don't hold a lot of value in a first round pick if you're really good, a late first round pick. I would.
Yeah. What's the 32nd pick? If you can win a cup like that, I completely agree.
Now you're 32.
Yeah. Carey Price. Should your Canadiens keep him?
Who wants him? It's the money. Who can afford to give 10? I just feel like the league's so strapped. Like, if they move him for 10 and a half, or they get, honestly, Buffalo wouldn't want him, but with the old Eichel, okay, someone wants rid of 10 and a half. He's a good player. I think Eichel may be better or whatever. We can argue, but who has a $10 million guy they want to move for Price? In my opinion, it's not going to be an easy trade. It's such those big contracts. You don't really move them. You just buy them out. I find, and I don't think you buy out Price, but
unless Montreal retain at least 50%.
I just think there's too. I would trade him because I think his value would be through the roof, but it's just too long. I think he has like 6 years left, or
he's got four after this year.
4 after this year.
At 10 and a half.
Yeah, but give me Price for $5 million, and I'll give you a hell of a lot for him. If I'm Edmonton right now, and you give me Price for half his salary, and plus he's from out west, like, well, yeah, I'll give you my first and a lot more. I don't know. Getting rid of money is a different. It's something that's not, or I don't know. It's weird. Like, picks. I remember at one point people were gonna Penguins were gonna give away Flurry and a first round pick.
Yeah.
Like, they were gonna give you a first round pick to take them. Like, I don't know. These big contracts, it's you're handcuffed as soon as you do it. I don't know, unless you take another one back or buy them out.
It's a dangerous game because if they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't, because he's been through a lot this year. Obviously, personal stuff. He went to the player assistance program, into rehab.
Yeah.
And I want him to come back. I mean, it's hard not to like Carey Price. I think he's really, he's a great goaltender. I think he's a really great human being as well. I think he's really improved his image over the years. And again, it's hard not to root for him. And I think Montreal, if they parted with him, he's going to come back on the ice eventually. And I just believe that he's going to ball out. Like, I just think you put him on a good team, he's going to be motivated. He won't say anything because he's not like a Michael Jordan where he has to say, hey, George Karl, you said something about me in that restaurant, I'm going to slit your throat. Yeah. He'll just go out there and make 45 saves, give somebody a head nod and walk away. Like that. I believe he's going to come back and play as good as he did, last year in the postseason at some point.
Yeah. And yeah, I agree with you, Juggy. I think half the thing too is if Montreal thinks they can build a team at the time he's still around / relevant, like in 4 years, if they can be an okay playoff team or like competing playoff team. I don't know what will happen with him, but I agree. I love Price. It just goes to show. I know Canada's goalies compared to other countries, or just like this year with Olympics, right?
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't played a game. A lot of people still had Price on the team, right? He's still like, when the Olympics start, would they have started like right now or?
They play their first game on the 10th. If that's when the game 1 is against Germany.
So like, he still hasn't played a game yet, and if the NHL was going, I still feel there would be a lot of talk of Price. And
I think he'd be playing too.
Yeah, like, you're right. He's a stud. and whoever has him is gonna love him.
Yeah.
And well, honestly though, like too bad he wasn't a little bit younger, but if you put the trios of Malkin, Flurry, Letang, Crosby, or whoever it is at the time, but if you put Price in the same age group as Draisaitl and McDavid,
He'd be right there.
yeah. I don't know. If I was Edmonton, I would. And really Montreal, take these prospects that are maybe pan out, maybe Price can fucking stop a puck.
Yeah.
Right? There's no debating that.
No, there's no conjecture. There's no maybe. Like it's a done deal. Yeah, absolutely. And what about Flurry for Edmonton? Is that a better option than Price because he's played this year, or would you rather? Because Fleury's going to be a UFA, likely retire, so it might be more for Edmonton, who's cash strapped. It might be easier for them to try to pull off the Flurry trade opposed to getting CP.
You hit it on the head. That's the thing. If I was Edmonton, I would want Price, but how do you get Price with $10 million, 4 more years of them at that age? Compared to Fleury, and Chicago can meet the salary. Montreal maybe can once they move a couple guys out, but today they can't.
No,
I don't think they can. Like they're last place and they're strapped. It might be the top team in the league after Tampa. Close to Tampa right now. Like considering Weber and all that, like their payroll.
right?
They have a lot of money tied up to guys.
Yeah,
and that all comes back on the books as soon as he's got we're strapped right now, and Weber comes back on the book. Just say he comes back. Now you're $7 million over the cap. $8 million over the cap in the last place. But no, I that's why I think Fleury would be a much more clearly you'd want Price, but Fleury, I could see Fleury. And if I was Edmonton, why wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
I'm game with anyone who's done the job before. Fleury knows what it takes. I have all the faith in Fleury. Like we can sit here and argue whether one of them, Price or Fleury, is better, but we can also argue that Fleury got the job done and Price didn't. Price doesn't have a cup.
Right.
Fleury has what, 2?
He's got 3.
3, yeah.
Yeah, he's got 3 from Pittsburgh and went to another Cup final in Vegas. So he's been to 5 Stanley Cup finals because he was there in 08 when they lost to Detroit. So he's got he's made a lot of deep runs in the playoffs, and he's been damn good in the playoffs as well. So yeah,
he's not old. He's not like, some forward,
yeah.
Iggy at the end of his career. I still loved him, and he was just a sick fourth liner at that point. But he's not getting injured. He's not showing signs of aging, really, in my opinion.
No, I agree. Yeah, he's 37, but he could be 31. And he's,
what I mean is you're not picking him up to be the mentor or a back.
No, not at all. He's starting every game in the playoffs because especially with the alternative with Koskinen or Mike Smith, who's older than Fleury, or Jeff Skinner's brother Stewart there in Edmonton. That's.
Do you think I'm more likely to get a call to play for the Habs this year or to 10 net for Edmonton?
You?
What's worse?
Well, I think the Montreal media is just kind of accepted this is going to be a brutal season. So I don't think there's going to be too many bad write-ups. If you're a goalie at Edmonton right now, you are you're in the guillotine. They're ready to cut your head off. So I'd rather go to Montreal, no fans, nobody knows what the hell you're doing, and you can just kind of get in there scot-free. You might actually get a good piece written about you.
Well, we're at the point though at you don't know who's getting called up for Montreal.
No.
Right.
No.
And Edmonton's goal, if they don't pick someone up soon, we're yeah, but I don't know. I think they have to pick up a goalie, and I don't know what the price is right now. It must be crazy, but even you'd think they could get one of these other random backups for something better.
I look at a guy in Dallas in Hudobin. I think some team's going to trade for him. I mean, I guess he hasn't had a great season, but again, you talked about guys who've done it. He got to a Stanley Cup final. People can say, oh, it was in the bubble. It was a fluke. he still got there. He played every game. Ben Bishop had every injury known to man. He's always missed games. He's playing in the AHL right now. I think, I'm not saying you want him to start every game, but I do think he's a good security blanket for a team to have as depth. It could be Edmonton. It could be a team like Colorado, who always seems to need goalies in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I love his attitude too. Like when he was winning for Dallas, like
They loved him.
like, everyone loved him. The players, like they rallied around him. He was like a leader.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, that's what it seemed like to me, or like I don't know. Which, fuck, he can't be too expensive. I feel like no one did they not waive him?
They did, yeah, and nobody picked him up.
Yeah, so his can't be too. The price can't be too expensive.
I think it's it's a little over $3 million, I believe. So it's not.
I think it's 3.5.
Yeah.
But 1 year left or 2 years left. One more year, maybe.
I think it might be his last. I think he signed a 2 or 3 year, and that last year would have been. I think might be his last year. He might be an unrestricted free agent. So you get him.
Yeah, he might have one more year.
Yeah,
I don't know. But
I'll look it up
also
here.
like, look at Dallas. They have Ottinger, who I don't know much about goalie, but they're not doing well, and he's a good young goalie in my opinion. Not the best or anything, but they have Holtby, Khudobin, and is there not another goalie there that's I'm missing something?
Yeah,
They have 4 goalies, and Khudobin and Holtby weren't really in the picture for a while. Either of those guys I would trade for on the playoff team.
So yeah, Hudobin's got 1 year left. He's making 3.3.
What else do they have for goalies?
Dallas. Yeah, I'd rather have Hudobin than Holtby, personally.
Yeah, exactly. Me as well. But
Yeah.
What I like about Holtby is he has a cup.
Yes.
And both of these guys, there's 4 goalies there, I think, or 3. Like they waived Khudobin.
Yeah.
The price can't be too high. Like, why isn't Edmonton throwing a 3rd, 4th round pick? Something minuscule at these guys.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I really don't. And Dallas should be a team that's better, in my opinion, because I like a lot of their roster. I mean, obviously your guy there, Radulov, still plays, but Lindell on the back end, Heiskanen, Klingberg, their forward depth's really where it kind of leaks out a little bit. But Jason Robertson's a good player. Rupe Hintz, I like a lot. A name that I'm just pulling up their depth chart, Cole, and we're kind of going over the place, but I love it. I think Joe Pavelski is an interesting ad at the deadline.
I want him so bad at the deadline. Really?
Yeah.
I agree.
He'd be a guy that I'd want a lot because he hasn't won one, but he's gotten damn close a lot, and he's a proven playoff performer.
Yep. And he plays to win.
And I look Gurionov, I like him. I like Heiskanen, I think is a great player. Klingberg is also he's unrestricted after this year. I prefer Heiskanen. I'd rather keep Heiskanen long term than Klingberg. I just think he's a better player. But do you think he'll fetch a hefty return come the trade deadline?
Klingberg? I think so, yes.
Yeah.
If Dallas not in it, and they're not.
Yeah.
I agree. Heiskanen's they're 2 different players. Heiskanen is I find very all around. He plays both ends, beautiful skater, thorough overall pick, where Klingberg is great offensively.
Yeah.
But he lacks other areas. He provides something all that a lot of teams need and want. Like
he can move the puck.
How good was Shane Gostisbehere that one? Was it his rookie year?
I think it was. It was either his rookie or his sophomore year where he was a superstar.
And he has a lot of faults defensively. And I think Klingberg's grown a little bit, a lot more than Gostisbehere, clearly, but he provides that. Like he's so good offensively that teams need it.
If you give him a good D partner that's stable, it could be a good fit. My thought was perfect with Carlson. We mentioned Muzzin, we mentioned guys, if you just find the right person to play with the guy, it can work seamlessly, and it can be really, really great. Looking at Pavelski, this is his last year on his deal.
And he's a UFA at $7 million, but Dallas can afford to eat it, I think, and they're nowhere near a spot. Like,
plus for teams, it's going to be less, right? Because it's at the end of the season, so it's not going to be as big of a cap hit. So
to me, he's number one.
He's 37, but he's right up there. He's still scoring goals. I mean, I think he had a hat trick the other night. Any team that jumps off the page for you when you think of Joe Pavelski?
No, I just think everybody wants him. It's not like I think he's almost a perfect fit wherever he goes. He'll play wing, center. He doesn't fight, unfortunately, but
he'll hack and whack.
Yeah, and like I really.
He's 37. He's over a point per game this year. He's got 19 goals in 43 games, 48 points. He had 51 and 56 last year, so he's having a bounce back season.
Yeah, he's worth his money. I appreciate guys who've won. I know they can do it, but like I like what you said. Like he's been there a lot, and he's hungry.
Yes,
he's hungry.
He wants it bad.
I heard he wants an extension in Dallas, but you got to have that.
He's got a full modified no move, so it would be up to him. But what if they said, you know what, we'll bring you back, but we could trade you to the Rangers, go win a chip, and come back?
Yeah, or like, look, if we trade you, do you want do you want to die here? Like, you want to win, don't you? So if we trade you right now, we're not making playoffs this year. You make us better. Right? If we get rid of you for a month or 3 months, come back next year. We'll give you the same like, here's a fucking contract, but you can't sign today.
Right.
Come back in 3 months, but guess what? We'll have this
assets.
22-year-old first-round pick defenseman 3 years ago that's going to really help us next year. Step in and play, or 2 firsts that we can ship for Sherrod next year.
They're an interesting team to watch, because I've heard forever that New York's looking for another top end forward. I don't know if they'll be able to swing getting Pavelski, but he would be a good add, because I think they need another high end scorer. I like Panarin. Strome's a good player. Lafreniere, a good player. Kako has his moments, but other than Panarin and Zibanejad, obviously Kreider's having a great season. One of your nemesis for injuring CP back in the day. But I think they need another high-end guy. They need a top 6 forward that's not like a debate. It's not, well, I think this guy's a top 6 forward where Pavelski can play in your second line right wing, and he's going to play well game in, game out.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think like Zibanejad, but I know good Rose there, but can you think of anyone on the roster who's won?
Yeah, they moved McDonough, so he's no longer there. They got Fox, who's really young. They got Lindgren, like Lafreniere. Panarin hasn't won.
I don't think a lot of these guys are.
They have a really young team, because Shesterkin's 23. He's a stud, but he's young. Georgiev, no. Like Panarin's made the second round. That's no, he wasn't in Chicago. He didn't win.
He didn't win in Chicago?
No, I think he was there later.
He was there 2 years, eh?
Yeah. And he was there the latter stages of when they were good. I think he was there when they got swept by Nashville the year after they won their last cup. But Goodrow's a winner, but other than him, I think they got Revocop, who's been to the cup final, but he didn't win. But they need another winner in there, because it's a really, really young team. And you're playing a team like a Carolina, who I look at as a sleeping giant. I think they're a really, really good hockey team. They have a lot of experience. They haven't won yet, but they've made a lot of deep runs, and they got a winner behind the bench. And that's a big part of it as well.
Yep. That's as good as highly as I can talk of Carolina. It all comes back to Brendan Moore, in my opinion. He's the reason. Because actually, they have some fucking damn good scouts too.
Yeah.
But Brendan Moore, I just think Berube too. I mean, he got St. Louis to that cup. Like people want to play for Brendan Moore, and I know he doesn't have a cup yet, and they've been pretty close and have some good teams. Like he gets the most out of his guys, and I have a lot of respect for Brendan Moore. And I don't think people talk or give enough respect about how much like a role that play. Oh, superstar this. To me, like Brendan Moore is a superstar to that team. He come to that team and the team changed. Well, he was there once he took over. It was like, fuck, we'll do it for Brendan Moore.
Right.
Maybe there was not a gun or a.
It was such a negative. It was such a negative atmosphere because Bill Peters had just been fired, and there was like this, and they brought in Brendan. He changed it right away. Like, and what I love about him, Cole, is he'll say openly to guys, "You're not going to play if you continue to do this. Play the style that we play, or guess what? I'll find somebody that will." And he doesn't care. He'll go to the GM and say, "Get rid of this guy because he's just not going to work for me." And that's how you win. Like to coach, you need the players. Like you should be forthright with management and be like, "This guy's just not going to do it. Maybe he'll do it down the road, but it's not going to work here." And you just see it's different than in the Long Island. I feel guys still get their stats in Carolina, but I think Aho could get more points than he gets, and he sacrifices to play a better overall team game. Same with Svechnikov, Slavin. I mean, these guys it's more about winning than it is about individual statistics.
I agree. And it's like respect is a two-way street, not hockey ever like in life. And I don't think there's too many people that don't respect Rod Brendan Moore. He's putting in the work. Like, fuck, he's in better shape than his whole team. And he's 50, or what, 55? I don't know how old he is, but like you can't. It's different when. Nothing against Hitchcock, but I like Hitchcock. But he's older. Dave might be like, fuck. Don't tell me to get my feet moving. You can't even skate. Or it's like Brendan Moore, like everything he says, like everything he practices, everything he preaches, he practices. Like, it's not, there's no phoniness about him. And I think that people like not only respect him, like look up to him. And he has a cup too.
Yep.
Does he have more than one cup? Or just one?
Just one.
Yeah. The last one in Carolina, but no, I have never heard a negative word about Rob Brendamore ever.
No, me either. Every ex-teammate loves him, and even when players leave, they only say good things. Like Justin Williams.
Out of fear or respect.
Maybe they're scared they're going to see him in like a Good Life Fitness, and he's just going to be like at the barbell, just like grunting and looking at them as he pumps iron. But I completely agree. The East, I think, is definitely better than the West this season, and I think it's by a considerable margin. Who do you think? Who's the best team in the Eastern Conference, in your opinion?
I debated for a while. Like I said, it's a lot of good teams. Carolina, I really like Carolina. I like Brendan Moore the most, but I love Carolina. I just can't. I hate to be like jump on the band. I don't cheer for Tampa, but I just can't see how like they have so many stars back. They lost that third lineup, Gaudreau,
Gord, and Coleman,
but they didn't lose a star. They still have Stammer, and Stammer might be playing his best hockey that I've seen in a long time. Kucherov doesn't miss a beat. He can fucking go on a safari for 6 months and comes back and has 2 points a game. Hedman, like you still have all these stars, but what I like is that third line was hard. You know what I mean? These heart and soul guys, but my boy, I guess, but Corey Perry. He was a big reason Montreal got to where they did. And
totally agree.
I know the John Tavares thing is very unfortunate, and the Mark Scheifele thing is, Montreal case a lucky thing or whatever. Like poor Jake Evans, but you know what I mean? Like, Perry played a huge role in playoffs. Like, I just think he feels that they lost some guys, but he plugs in there very well. They just have so many
12 goals.
Yeah. Like, and their back end is still studs.
Yeah.
And Bogo goes there for $1.
Yeah.
Like, they're not missing. Like right now on their D, I have Hedman, McDonough. They're okay.
Yeah.
Cernak and Sergachev. You know, what I mean, those are a stud for.
Yeah, you
And
can't
just
beat
the
that.
like the parody too of the way Cernak plays in Hedman. They're like,
Mhm.
you got the beast and beauty, like
Yeah.
beast, right? And McDonough, Sergachev, really and there are a lot of ones on teams, if not twos.
Right.
Then you got Ruda, but Bogo goes there, cheap. Yeah, that I love like their depth guys too. It's like if someone goes out, like Suster and that Cal Foot kid, you're not skipping a beat if those guys. I mean, if Hedman goes out and you have Suster in for Hedman, no, but
Yeah.
yeah, like if one goes out, McDonough can go to number one.
McDonough's still number one to me.
Yeah,
I thought last year in the playoffs he was unbelievable. He
so
played.
who did they lost the third line,
Mhm.
replaced it, and they all know how to win.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And they want it just as bad as any other team. I think they want it more than the other. To be honest, I think they want to win that third one desperately because Pittsburgh got 2, but Tampa wants to be like, hey, we won 3 in the cap era, so suck it. All those people that said you can't. There's no dynasties in this era.
Does Chicago have 3?
They have 3 in 5 years, but this
Yeah.
be Tampa's 3rd in a row.
Patty Maroon probably wants 4 too.
Yeah, the big rig. Yeah,
After 4, though, he's probably like, "Fuck."
hang him up.
He can sign in Montreal next year.
Yeah.
I can't do this year round.
Yeah, I can't play till June every year. I'm exhausted.
He's gonna sign in Montreal for next year, Patty. You heard it here first.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, Corey Perry and Patrick Moon playing the same line, and you'd hear, "Oh, these guys are too slow." And they play so well, And you mentioned, Gord's gone, big loss. Don't get me wrong, but Matthew Joseph's a really good hockey player, and he wasn't playing that much. He didn't play the first time they won the cup. He was a black ace because their team was so good, and he's got a lot of potential. I like that he's got some bite to his game as a youngster. I think this guy could be a 20-goal scorer in the NHL. No problem.
Especially on Tampa.
Yes.
Montreal, you're playing in your own zone all game.
Yeah.
Like in that I think that Colton kid.
Yeah, Ross Colton. Yeah.
Or that goal against Montreal, fucker. But just kidding. But he has like 10 goals in 30 games or like. I don't know. Like everybody's producing, and you can say these guys they weren't that good, and maybe they weren't. I don't know, but they're also been waiting behind all these studs. Like, in Montreal, it's like making the joke they're calling me to play. Like, these guys are waiting behind Cooch, Stammer, Killorn, Point, like for a long time. So yeah, they might not be names we recognize, but
Tampa does. They know.
They're
They
waiting
know
behind those guys, right?
Right.
Look at that Verhaeghe kid. Yes, I like that guy. I think he's a good player, but it just goes to show like he just wasn't ready to play on Tampa. He just wasn't good enough for Tampa at that point.
Yeah. 20-goal scorer, but not good enough for Tampa. Yeah, no, it's true. It's true because they can just plug and play, and it ultimately worked out for him because he gets an opportunity to play down the road. But right behind Tampa, well, this team would be higher in the standings, but I agree with your point. Until somebody beats Tampa, I find it hard to rank anybody above them. But between Florida and Toronto, I mean, I think they're similarly built. I like Florida's back end more. But which team do you think is better and can have more playoff success?
That's a good question. Like, I agree with you that they're kind of the same team in some ways. I'm gonna go with Florida. It's a toss-up. That's probably no. Well, that won't be the 2-3 matchup because Carolina's gonna get in there. But I like Florida's. I like Bobrovsky. I know he has one off year, one on year. I like Knight. Give me Florida, but I think they're very close. You can argue this all day.
Yeah.
They haven't gotten done recently.
I'm gonna have to go with Florida too, because I predicted them to win the cup before the year, so I'm not gonna go against that yet until they're eliminated. But I mean, Huberdeau, Reinhart. I mean, that what they're doing right now, Cole, when it comes to their offensive production, is just off the charts. We talked about Tampa. Mason Marchment, who Toronto traded for
I love that.
Dennis Malgin, who's now playing in probably Turkey or Istanbul. Yeah, he 6 points the other night. He's a fourth liner. He's got 23 points in 21 games. I mean, they can score with anybody. Like, they are offensively, they are so dynamic, and they're a terror to play against.
Yeah, I agree with you. And a name that I've always loved, Sam Bennett. I just
Yes.
I don't know why he just never got a chance in Calgary, or I don't know what it was, but he's a really good player. They got him for what, a second round pick and something.
Yeah.
Whoever was it, Talon at the time, or is it someone else? Whoever made that move, fucking.
It was last season. It was Zito, the current GM, who made that move. Yeah.
Is it traveling or whatever?
Oh yeah, Brad Old, Trey Living.
Well, he pulled
my buddy. Yeah.
He pulled Brad's pants down on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
I mean, he's got 20 goals already, career high.
And you don't expect. I think he's better than Calgary, or the same style, just like a little heavier. Like, he plays that. I don't need the 20 goals. I'll take the 10 goals and the agitation. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think he's at 20 goals. I don't think
he won't get suspended in the playoffs.
He might. I love, like, he's got some grip to him. That's what I like. Like, he doesn't look like he's a small guy, but I think that was a great pickup for them. And
so was Sam Reinhart.
Yeah. But kind of like two opposite players, right?
Yes.
Two high-end picks, but I don't know, Sam, like, he just fits in as this slides by.
Probably you forget he's on the team when you're watching. Oh yeah, Sam Reinhart got traded from Buffalo. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably rather play in Buffalo than Florida this year, but poor guy.
You'd rather be Alex Tuck than Jack Eichel?
Oh, man. Thank God he went home, though. If he didn't go home.
Yeah, that's a depression there. For
I probably would have walked up to the cockpit on the flight. Pressing buttons.
As a Montreal fan, that your team got to the final last year, you look at Toronto again, they're playing well, but they haven't got past that first round since 2004. Do you worry about them making a deep run this year, or are you pretty calm? Like, what's your meter 1 to 10, of 10 being fear, 1 being, you're sipping a pint on the patio?
As a Toronto fan?
No, as a Montreal fan, worrying about Toronto going on a deep run.
I don't know. I like, as soon as Montreal's out, I like cheering for Canadian teams. Like,
okay.
Fuck you poor fuck. Not that I like gonna be like all in Toronto, but poor fuckers. Like, I don't want a cup since now. I'm like, Mom was before.
Yeah, I think Mozart was still.
But like, oh man, they got to get something done there. I feel for them, man. Can you imagine being an original 6 team and not have a cup in that long? I'm a Montreal fan. If they're playing against Montreal, I'm always gonna go for Montreal. But I feel for Toronto and Toronto fans, and I actually have a lot of respect for true Toronto fans for what they went through, and people who stuck it out. Kudos to the Toronto fans that are still Toronto fans. You're idiots.
Kudos to them, or they need to be institutionalized.
Well, at this point, yes, it's not even their fault. They should probably, a lot of them probably are.
Yeah.
Are on the right track. They have a good reason to be.
Yeah. No.
Ferguson, I wouldn't want to be a Toronto fan when Ferguson was pulling strings.
Yeah, those were some dark days. Yeah, do you think they can go on a deep run?
Toronto?
Yeah.
I think so, but if you ask me, am I put my own money on it? No. I think they have that high-end talent. I like their team, but I don't like them more than I like Tampa, Carolina, Florida.
Yeah. I agree.
New York's close. I believe you need good goaltending and defense to actually get the job done for a series. You can score as much as you want in the regular season. I just think it's like, I don't know. It's hard to get the job done for 4 series in a row. You got to be good defensively, offensively, goaltending. You can't really have any chinks in your armor. And you might have a not good goaltender, but he might be standing on his head this month, right? Like,
Right.
I don't know. That's the way I feel. Like, I don't think Binghamton's great, but he was great that playoffs.
Right. Yeah. He had a run, and they did have a good D in front. I mean, Petrangelo and Parayko, like we've talked about, you got 2 number ones on your back end. That helps out a lot when it comes to goaltending. But you look at Dermott, Dermott and Liljegren can't be playing. If you legitimately want to sell to your fan base that we want to win a Stanley Cup this year, we feel like we can, they can't be playing. And that's just my humble opinion. But I watch those games as often as I can, and they play awful every time I watch them play. Very few games I look at Dermott, I look at Liljegren and say these guys play well. And I just think you need better options at the bottom of your lineup, or they play 5 minutes a game, and by the time your top end D are exhausted because they have to play 26, 27 minutes a night, and that's not a good option either.
No, I agree with you, Judd. But like, Tampa wins. We'll just read this: Hedman, McDonough, Cernak, Sergachev, Ruda, all there last year, and Savard, who I really like. Like, he's probably, I think, a number 4 on that team, maybe number 3, something like that. You still had Foote and Schuster. Now you got Bogosian, kind of for Savard, give or take. Right. I think Savard is better, or he was last year anyway. But they have all these studs back. You look at Toronto. Like, don't get me wrong. I think Dermott, Liljegren should be on the team, but that should be Foote and Schuster.
Right, exactly. Agreed.
They can play, but they might play 4 games. Okay, you were hurt. You can go in. You can play. Yeah. Well, I don't want to run you every night as my guy, or thinking like depending on you to be my guy. But that's Toronto, I think, is in that window with all those other teams I mentioned. Tampa doesn't have to worry because they just had to. They don't have to sell the farm. They already got the horses in their barn. Right. But this is where Toronto has to say, yeah, we fucking, what do you want for Sherratt? We need Sherratt. Not only do we need Sherratt, not that they can get Petrie and Sherratt, but I'm trying to think. I don't know who's on the market for D, but you need a Sherratt and maybe another, not like a 5-6. You need 2 Sherratts.
Yes. Yeah. Give me Sherratt, and then go scour and look and say who's not going to make the playoffs, and who could we acquire that would help us win. Like, look at
Toronto last year, great team. Like, look at like they shouldn't not have lost to Montreal, but a couple of mistakes by I like Sandin. Really, like, Sandin got exposed, but Montreal picks up John Merrill, all these depth guys.
Gustafson there, my boy.
Oh yeah, but still, like, 7th round pick, 5th round pick. What do these have any value to Toronto right now? Everybody's head's fucking on in the guillotine.
Yep.
Fuck this 5th round. Okay, a 1st round pick. You traded 6 years in a row. People ask questions, but a 5th, fuck.
Yeah.
Well, fuck it. Your head's in the guillotine anyway. Get Sherratt with your 1st, and then get some of these Merrills, Gustafsons, takes a risk. Get fucking 3 of them.
Yep.
I don't know. That's their job, in my opinion, and goaltending too. I don't know what the fuck to do with Mrazek. I like Campbell, but I don't know what to do.
Yeah, he's been struggling, but you got to hope he can turn it around if you're a Toronto fan in the back half of the season. Calgary, Edmonton. Who's a better team?
I think Edmonton, especially with long term. Now Calgary's doing better now, but maybe they get the playoffs where Edmonton doesn't, especially this year. But I know Edmonton had some shitty luck, but I still give me those guns. McDavid, Recital. I think they have a better shot of just not being able to be contained than Calgary does of winning 4 rounds. Now, I'm not saying I don't have either of them too high in my. Neither of them too shit hot in my opinion right now, but I'm taking Edmonton if you want to bet money on it.
Right. Yeah. Calgary has been a surprise to me because I didn't think they'd be very good. They did. Brad Treliving, who, has fired, 4 coaches at this point, still has a job, which is still baffling to me. But the team, Kachuk's having a great season. Gaudreau's having a bounce back. Markstrom's got 6 shutouts. That helps. But, I still look at their team. It's the same core they had last year that didn't win. And Edmonton, I don't have a whole lot of faith in either because I hate their goaltending situation. But you gotta think they'll improve that, or Kenny Holland will be unemployed by August. But in the West, who's the best team in the West? Colorado. Who after Colorado? Who do you like?
I love Colorado.
I think Minnesota's a sleeping giant. I think they're a pretty good team.
I agree with you, and they're playing really well this year. I just don't think they have the horses to get it done for a series. And I love Kaprizov. I just like for their goalies, Talbot and
Mackinnon. Yeah,
I like them, but I just don't remember who's won the cup with Cam Talbot. And I don't know. I just don't think he's that elite and to actually win that cup. He's not Vasilevsky. Binghamton played like that, I guess. So maybe he didn't turn into that. But Binghamton come out of the blue in a hot streak. I've seen Talbot's been in the league for almost 10 years. I've never seen that. Not the Binghamton anyway. I like Minnesota. I like them more than I like Minnesota. Honestly, I like Edmonton more than I like either of those teams. Just because at the end of the day, try and stop McDavid, try and stop Draisaitl. I know there's fucking so many holes, but I just think they're gonna get. I think they're gonna get Flurry or a stud goalie, and that's what they need. Like they need Freddie Anderson, someone who's played up and down fucking on hockey for 5 years straight. Freddie would fucking off himself though if he went to one more fucking team like
that. Yeah, they need a goalie for sure. I think Vegas can be very good because they're going to get Eichel back. And we got to assume that he's going to be playing at a very high level. And they still, Leonard's a good goalie. Their back end is great. But they were lacking a number 1 center, and they got to a conference final last year, and Montreal pulled off another upset. On paper, they should have beat Vegas should have beat Montreal. But if they have a number 1 center and they have a similar team that they did last year, they beat Colorado last year. So I think if they can gel and Eichel is playing at elite level, I think they could go on a run in the West and get to a cup final, because as much as I respect Colorado, as you know, the game changes in the playoffs, and Colorado's on the back end. They're thin and they're kind of a small. I look at a guy like Sammy Girard. He gets exposed in the playoffs because he just doesn't play that style. And I think Vegas, a big heavy team, that's a tough matchup for Colorado to get through.
Yeah. I just still thinking about Eichel. Like I don't even know how to think about Eichel. I've never seen him say compete or like playoff. I've never seen playoff Eichel. I think he's a very good player, and I've seen him light the lamp a lot with great skill, but he has a hat trick and Buffalo loses 10-3. And look, like what's I don't know. Maybe fucking Vegas wins the cup because Eichel's unreal in the playoffs. He has someone that can actually put the fucking puck on his tape. But that's I don't know. That's Eichel's probably the biggest factor. Because Vegas really, in my opinion, got exposed last year with Stevenson. I thought he was number 1 and he wasn't. He just fell on his face. And Carlson was the year before, and Carlson's not. I still don't think he's the number 1 center. He had a lucky year, but if you have Eichel playing well, Carlson, then Stevenson. I still have Stevenson on 3.
Right. That's a formidable 3.
Yeah, exactly. And really, hate to point the finger, and I didn't watch that much, but like he was a big reason why they lost, in my opinion. So if you change him for Eichel and put him as your third line center, maybe I'm underestimating Vegas big time.
Yeah, I mean the West is really thin. Because we're talking about Calgary and Edmonton, who I don't think are particularly great teams, but they're likely. I think. Do you think both make the playoffs?
Oof. Yeah, I think they both make the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm starting to lean that way too, because I think I think Anaheim and LA are going to fade a little bit. They're very young teams. I could see either of them try to trade off some players. I think LA is a better team than Anaheim. I like their chances of making the playoffs better because they got some of those guys that I think are, Doughty's not going to miss the playoffs. So they can make it. He'll will that team. But yeah, I think they both could. I see Vegas winning that division, but Calgary at Edmonton first round would be a lot of fun.
Oh, fucking right.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't know what's going on at Edmonton, but why is Flurry not there? I really don't. And maybe Flurry says, "Fucking, if you trade me to Edmonton,
right, I'll retire."
Yeah, or I'll retire. But
what about your Varlamov in Long Island? He could be moved as well.
Well, same thing, in that I feel like they would eat some salary. I know he's got one more year left. I think 5 or 5.5, or give or take that ballpark. But okay, say they eat $1 million. Like, I think he's worth 5.5. But Edmonton's just so strapped, right? But
yeah.
Put it this way: I like Jake Allen. I think it's better than both their goalies.
Yep.
Yeah. Like I'm talking about like who's available too.
Right.
Flurry.
Yep.
Varlamov.
Yep.
Both Holtby and Khudobin.
Yep.
Now here's another 2-1. John Bernier. That's a long shot, but they might get him for 7. And Grubauer and Dreyer, like I feel like they might be able to get their hands on one of those guys for cheap, and I feel like Seattle's a great team to eat money.
Right.
They thought they're gonna be better than they are. Now maybe you could sell to the fans. We're gonna trade Giordano and maybe Grubauer, or because I don't think they're doing too well.
Grubauer's got 5 years left at 6'9".
6'9".
I think it's.
But you have to eat.
It's a lot. It's a lot of money.
You'd have to eat for 6 years.
Yeah.
But if there's one team in the league who could do it, it would have to be Seattle, right?
Yes.
That's the last on my list. But there's a lot of, like Allen, Gorgiev, Fleury, Varlamov, Holtby, Khudobin, Bernier. I think that's like 7 goalies there, in my opinion, that are all better than what they're offering. And all those goalies, I don't think are too expensive to get. I don't think any of those, with the exception of Fleury, I don't think you're losing a first-round pick.
No, and I don't think New Jersey would trade Mackenzie Blackwood, but I'd inquire.
Yeah, exactly. I agree as well.
Doesn't hurt to call.
Blackwood's a guy he's not out of the loop. He's not Fleury gone next year, Varlamov gone 2 years. Okay, sign him and extend him.
Yeah, you can have him for multiple seasons.
That's the thing, right? Like, if I was a GM, we're talking about trading a first-round pick for Sherrod, or you give me a goalie that I know can be a number 1, I'll give you basically whatever the fuck you want.
Right.
You're getting me fired when you can't stop a puck.
Yeah.
Price gets kept some GMs and some seats a little longer.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. Because I don't think St. Louis will trade a goalie. I don't think. I mean, Winnipeg's got Hellebuck, but no team's gonna want Eric Comrie. He's not really an upgrade. Philly, I don't think they'll desperately trade Carter Hart, but who knows?
I also had Martin Jones on that list, but that's also the Gustafson. Okay, I'll give you a second.
What about Korpisalo in Columbus?
Yeah, I don't mind that. Honestly, I don't know much about him, and I like him.
I'd rather have Elvis, but I feel like they want to keep him.
Yeah, but both those guys, they fit in that. Fuck, I'll pay. Like, if you're willing to move me a goalie that can fucking, especially Edmonton, you realize what it's like when you don't
Yeah.
have a like Montreal right now doesn't well, they suck, but they kind of realize, but like Edmonton would fucking steal a goalie, you know what I mean? Like, who cares about a pick, this or that? Merzlikins, and he can both those goalies could fit into the future. Like, they're the same, like they're part of the core, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And Edmonton's gonna be fascinating. They play their last game before the All-Star break tonight in Washington. And I don't know if they've announced the starter yet, but it's either gonna be Skinner or Koskinen. Like, it's not Koskinen starting. Like, he can't be your starting goalie, and neither can Mike Smith come to start the playoffs, because you're not winning anything. You're losing. I think if both of these guys are in net and they play Calgary in the first round, as much as I agree with you, I love Draisaitl, I love McDavid. I think Calgary will win that series because I just don't love their back end enough, and I think Koskinen will let in 2 stinkers a game. And Markstrom won't. And that'll be a big reason why Calgary will win a series, even though Edmonton is more talented in the higher up in their lineup than Calgary is.
Yeah. I just don't know what to. Yeah. If we're talking about those two teams specifically, I can never go against McDavid and Draisaitl. They got swept last year. I just kind of have this faith in them that if they decide to turn it on, there's no stopping. You kind of see some games it's like, oh,
it's a clinic.
You're a pylon, and you see games where they're the pylon, or they don't touch the puck and they lose 8-0. But you also see the games they win 10-2, and it's kind of that they're hot. If those guys are rolling.
There's nights where TJ Brody's a pretty good defenseman, and they made him look like Aki Berg out there.
Yeah. You live and die with a sword, and you only got 2 of them. Not like another team. Like Tampa's got fucking 6.
Lots coming in the second half. We'll have to have another chat because this was a lot of fun today. But I really appreciate you hopping on, taking the time. I always love chatting hockey with you. But thanks for coming on, and we'll do this again soon, man.
Sounds good. When Habs win the cup, we'll be talking in June.
They win the draft lottery.
We'll talk then.
I think they should try to skip this year's draft lottery and win it next year.
Well, why not do both?
Okay.
Something fucking be good at it.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep tabs on Montreal if they can get past the 25-point mark in the second half of the season. But everybody, thanks for tuning in today. As always, stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll talk soon.